fulfilling and joyous life. One of the ways that we get to do that is by engaging in a meditation practice where we bring our awareness and focus to one thing. One of the other ways that we do that is through prayer. And so this morning, as the beloved community gathers, whether you are with us on Zoom, on YouTube, or on Facebook, together, we're about to engage in a meditation practice and a prayer practice. So I introduce you to our practitioner, our licensed practitioner, Angelica Guzman, lovingly known as Angie. And so we just surrender our time and attention to her loving presence. Angie?
Good morning, everyone. At this moment, we are going to take some time to do meditation. So if you feel comfortable, would you please close your eyes? And let's take some breaths. Let's breathe in. And breathe out. Making ourselves aware of the space where we are in, the chair where we're sitting on. We breathe deeply, knowing that today it's a wonderful day, that we are together here to learn to see ourselves with lots of love, communicate, and grow our relationships, being this the topic of the week. At this moment, I would like for us to leave our body in our chair for a minute and visualize ourselves walking out of the door in our home or the place where we are at. And we're going to visualize ourselves right in front of our home, where we are able to see the rest of the homes around us. The houses in front, the houses to the sides, just the places that are surrounding us. And we know that there are some people inside, some people that we have seen come in and out. Some of them say hello to us, and some of them just pass by. But we know that we are connected with all of them. If we visualize them and visualize ourselves as if we were back when we were children, and we see our neighbors as children also, we would know that we would want to go play, talk, and mingle with all of them, with no judgment, with no thoughts. Nothing would bother us, but we would just want to smile and go directly to play and hug and enjoy our time. We know that there are things in our lives that makes us change. Those things, beliefs, programs, school, race, religion, make us forget who we are. We forget that we are one, that we have the presence of God with us, that we are perfect, that we are divine. We forget that we are light, that we are love. And that's where it comes, the change of our behavior. But in reality, we are all one. So, knowing this, we know that there are some of our neighbors that just go by. But if we just look at them and send them a good morning, a good afternoon, a good vibe, all our love, all our life, all the light that their spirits may need, so that they could recognize that we are all one, created by one God, and that He manifests, this universe manifests through us, all of us. Now we could even move a little bit higher into looking at some of our relatives, our family. They're part of our relationships too. There are some of them that we get along better, and there are some of them that we don't see as much. At this moment, we recognize that we are all one, and that experiences in our lives makes us feel or act differently. We are one ourselves, but we are all connected with our divine universe. And if we move along, we could go into our neighborhood, into our city, into our society, in which they have created so many groups based on races, based on religion, on color, or just ways that we decide to live our life and govern our bodies. However, all those different groups, all those differences in our society, by class, by all those things that had been collectively created in our society, all of those things resume to only one thing. We are only one race. We are only one. And based on those relationships, even when we have challenges with other human beings, with other circumstances, if we set up in our mind that we are one, that before all these differences, before all these choices, before all these aspects input by society, we were all created the same, perfectly and divine. And based on that very far point of view where we could see the entire world, we could start coming down and seeing everybody as one. And if we start from us, to understand, to care, to be compassionate and tolerant with everyone around us in our society, for all those different groups, knowing that we all are all one. In our family, knowing that everybody acts the way they do based on their experiences and beliefs and programs. But see this relationship of one and recognize the universe, our divine source, in every one of them, in every one of us. We could better ourselves and our relationships. We move into our neighborhood again, into the neighbors right next to each other, right next to our place. And even if they don't say hello, or even if they're going through many things in their life, but we send them all our love and we send them all our life, recognizing ourselves in them. We could make a change in our society. We could make a change in our family. But most of all, we could have peace, love, enjoy our own life. We can feel our heart full by recognizing the presence of God, the presence of the divine universe on each person and everyone, including ourselves. So I'm going to give you just a few seconds to recognize some of those people that sometimes you had felt separated from them. So at this moment, you could bring him into your mind and recall where we came all from, that our relationships better themselves by recognizing that we are individual, collectively connected with the divine universe. As we recognize that oneness, that unity, that place of love and peace to go on with our relationships, to make us be better in society, to send that energy into the world, into other countries. Let's breathe deeply and recognize that there is only one source, one divine God, one being of love and light. That life, it's my life. That universe, it's manifested through me, by me, for me. And the same with me, with all of us. God is within us. We are one with that life. And this morning, we are ready to feel the joy of being together. We are ready to feel the presence of God with us, to better ourselves into our relationship, to appreciate, to feel gratitude for all of us that we are united here, and for the ones that are listening from their home, and the ones that couldn't be here, but they are here in spirit. We are thankful for them. We're thankful for the opportunity to wake up this morning, to spend time with our relatives, to love life, and to be together into this meeting, to fulfill our love, to fulfill our hearts, knowing that this is the truth and this is the life of God. We know that this is already done and we receive the blessings, and so it is.
So nicely sets the poise for our gathering today. Thank you so much, Angelica. Beautifully done as always. Appreciate you. Well, I have just a couple of announcements this morning. Good morning and welcome. Just a reminder, we have coming up on August 21st, about a month away, we're holding an open house at our physical location at 1524 East Hellman Street in Long Beach. And we're going to gather from 2 to 6 p.m. It's a casual meet and greet. We'll also take that opportunity to share about upcoming fall classes and other gatherings. So mark it on your calendar and hope to see you all there then. And as usual, Reverend Sunshine is conducting her spiritual remedy gathering live on Vida SLC Facebook. That's every Monday at 9 a.m. So join her there for that. And in person on Wednesdays at noon throughout the rest of July and August, Reverend Sunshine is doing facilitating meditation. And that's at our physical location at 1524 Elman Street in Long Beach. I'll spell Hellman correctly next time I make that slide. So for those of you that just noticed that. But anyway, join us on Wednesdays at noon, and she invites you, if you're on your lunch hour, you can bring your lunch and munch a bit in between meditating. So join us there for that. Join Reverend Sunshine for that meditation hour. I want to give thanks to all those who help put things together for us, and keep our gatherings going and keep this community moving forward, and it is moving forward. So thanks again to Angelica Guzman for our magnificent meditation and invocation this morning. Thanks to Reverend Sunshine in advance for a wonderful message this morning. Thanks to our live stream moderators, those that are out there interacting with other folks who might be tuning into our live stream on YouTube or Facebook, or this morning I added Twitter, so we're live to Twitter today as well, and that's at Vida_SLC. Thanks to our Leadership Council for continuing to guide this ship of Vida Spiritual Learning Center through our growth and expansion. Thanks to our technical team, to Barry Hollins and to Gary Takasian. Barry is doing first solo today, so wonderful job, Barry. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for joining us here today. It makes all the difference for me, and I trust it does for you as well. So getting back to a spiritual practice, which we call giving as a spiritual practice. And first, the administrivia, as one of my practitioner instructors used to say when we were taking the roll. You can send your gift to 1524 East Hellman Street. That's in Long Beach, California, 90813. Or, as I do, use your bill pay service. Or use the donate link or buttons available everywhere, including, I'm just trying to negotiate down. I just put it in the chat here on Zoom. I will have it up shortly in the chat on our live streams as well. And that takes you to a location where you can use your credit or debit card. And we also now accept Zelle. So if your bank has the Zelle service, you can Zelle to vida@vidaslc.org with your donation, with your gift. And now this becomes a spiritual practice because of the consciousness with which one gives. And the consciousness that comes to my heart and my mind is one of generosity, just one of feeling a circulation, a connection through this process of giving on this plane. And that might look to others as just feeling abundant or feeling overflowing or feeling prosperous in some way. And whatever that might be for you, I just want you to take a breath in a moment to bring to heart and mind that quality or character that's most outstanding for you. And I invite you to unmute at this moment if those are on Zoom, and we're going to say our statement of giving together simultaneously in English and in Spanish. So if you're ready, we'll begin. Abundance
La
flows in my
abundancia
life.
fluye por mi vida.
I am blessed
Estoy
with
bendecido con
prosperity.
prosperidad.
I give
Doy
with
con un
generosity.
sentimiento de
Yes.
generosidad.
I
Sí,
tithe on
diezmo
faith,
sobre la
belief,
fe y la
and with a
creencia y con
consciousness
una
of love.
conciencia de amor.
My gift
Mi
is a divine
regalo
circulation
es la
through me
circulación
that
divina
now
a través de mí,
benefits, grows
que ahora
our spiritual
beneficia y
community
hace
and
crecer
beyond.
nuestra comunidad
And now
espiritual
it is.
y más allá. Y ahora es.
You sounded wonderful this morning. Thank you very much. So I invite you now to mute yourselves and sing along with Walking in the Spirit as we prepare for today's message.
I'm walking in the Spirit, walking in the Spirit, walking in the Spirit, the Spirit of one God, loving in the Spirit, loving in the Spirit, loving in the Spirit, the Spirit of one God, moving in the Spirit. Oh, I'm moving. I'm moving. Moving in the Spirit. Oh, the Spirit
Hi there. It gives me great pleasure to talk about our topic today of you and me create society. What we've been looking at in 2022 is living everyday wonder. And in the month of July, we've already started talking about relationships. So it only brings us to this next topic that I want to talk about today is you and me create society. So take a look around at our society. And what do you see? What do you experience? And for those of you who watch the news, what's happening in our world? What's happening in our society? Whether our society is in our towns, the towns and the cities that we live in, whether it's in the county that we live in, the state, the country that we live in, or the world that we live in. However large or small you want to look at this, take a look at society, however you define that for you today, and look at what's happening. And then ask yourself, is it in alignment with your vision? Is this the society, the world that you enjoy living in? Now, if you do, since we're using technology, go ahead and type into the chat what you love about the society that you live in. And I also want you to type into the chat what the things are about society that don't fit your vision. Because I really want to take a look at all of the things that make up our society, or that make up our society that we like and that we don't like, right? Okay, so here's some of the stuff that comes up when I ask that question. Look at society, and then does it fit your vision? What fits your vision and what doesn't fit your vision? So of course, loving community, having beloved community, that that works. Okay, got it. Having a center, a spiritual learning center like ours, where we get an opportunity to be in beloved community, that seems to be working well. It seems to be working well that our family units are operating and functioning really well. And okay, some of the things that are not functioning well, right? Are we proud to be American? We sing the songs of a land where we're free, except, right? Except, based on race, sexual orientation, if you have ovaries, gender. These are the things that are listed, right? That we're living in a society that does not fit our vision personally, and maybe even collective as spiritual communities, right? Where our principles are love and unity, which is really oneness. Our principles are divine order. And yet what we find in our society, whether it's in our cities, our neighborhoods, our towns, our states, our country, or even globally, where folks are not honored, are not respected, are not valued based on our social identities. And so if that's the case, how is it that we can actually create a society or a world that works for everyone? How can we actually begin to do that? Well, it's interesting because Ernest Holmes says this. He says, we cannot afford to hold personal animosities or enmities against the world for individual members of society. All such are outside of the law. Love alone can beget love. Love alone begets love. So it's interesting because on my wall, I have like a simple formula for living. And one of the simple formulas for living is stop blaming other people. In other words, I get to take responsibility for creating my own life. And in our topic today of you and I, or you and me create reality, or we create our society, how is it that I still continue to blame others? How is it that you continue to blame others? It's those politicians, it's those lawmakers, it's those people, it's them over there. And is it in fact you and me, you and I, that have created society? Now, I know, right? You don't necessarily agree that we've created this, because it's not necessarily what we envision and what we would like our world to be. But each and every time we blame others, each and every time we're pointing the finger, each and every time we're not taking responsibility for our spiritual practice and our prayer work, we are creating this kind of society that says, oh, hey, if you have ovaries, I'm sorry, you can't make decisions about your own body. Oh, if you're black or brown, oh, I'm sorry, you belong in jail and in prisons. Oh, and by the way, if you happen to be gay, bisexual, trans, there's no room for you in our society. If you are of a different race, a different religion, a different sexual orientation, a different height or weight, based on your body and what your body looks like, you don't belong. And when we make that okay, when we don't stand up, when we don't speak for love, because only love begets love, you and me are creating this kind of society. And if this is not okay with you, then how do we together begin to create a society and a world, right, that works for all? And we have to begin locally, so local that it begins with the self. Now, I know many of you have heard the term that society changes when the old guard changes. Now, for those of us in our community who might be of the sage age, those folks who have lived many, many decades, we're not talking about killing you off. We're not talking about can't wait for you to croak. We're actually talking about when the old guard dies off, meaning the old way of thinking, the antiquated way of thought, when that guard, which is our systemic beliefs, that is what is called our race consciousness, when that race consciousness dies away, when that is no longer part of the living, breathing part of our consciousness, things change. So when I talk about the old guard, I am talking about the opportunity for us to begin to change our thinking. And of course, as you continue to hear week in and week out, and as you continue to study and become a metaphysician, you will hear the words of Ernest Holmes: change your thinking, change your life. This idea of COVID and of illness and sickness, the moment that we change and we let that old guard die off, it is in that moment that things begin to change. It is that moment where we begin to build anew. Now, I know I've heard it also said that, we have to, get in there and infiltrate that is a school of thought, and to begin to change the minds and consciousness of the people who are in our, in our policy making, making our laws. I get that, and I hear that. It's interesting in 365 days, what our book has to say. It says you can no more have an individual mind than you can have an individual ownership of the principles of mathematics or harmony or of beauty. So in other words, it's not only your individual mind, because your individual mind is actually in the mind of God. We are contained in spirit, right? And because of that power and presence, we create, and we create here in our human experience that which we experience. So because we are such powerful beings, we are connected. That's the unity. That's the oneness. So as I awaken, you awaken. As you awaken, I awaken. This is the awakening of humanity to its spiritual magnificence. And it is to this that I'm speaking of. Now, Ernest Holmes also says that we can't afford to hold personal animosities, right? We already saw that he said that we can't afford to have these personal animosities against people like our politicians or those people or those people. But in fact, what he says is this. You come into this life subjective to the race consciousness and to your own environment. You unfold your own personality and begin to create a new subjective thought. So it is up to us to be our own people, but to also hold a vision, and to have such a vision is that same vision that John Lennon talked about when he said, if everyone demanded peace instead of another television set, there would be peace. But still, what are we demanding? What are we calling forth? What are we seeing? And when we don't see that which we want, why are we not up in arms? And I'm talking about spiritual arms, not physical arms, not guns or violence, but in our spiritual practice. Why are we not then so deep in our spiritual practice and then inviting others into our spiritual practice that we actually begin to notice and to see and to experience a world that works for all? That you and me actually do create society based on what we want. Now, a lot of people who practice the spiritual bypass, they go around saying, "Oh, everything is good. Life is good." Yeah, life is good. I'm a proponent. I say life is good because my life is good. I'm creating that within my own world. But as I create that within my own world, I actually see what else is happening and what else is going on. And so it drives me deeper. Sometimes, like my mentor, Michael Beckwith, says that the news is our prayer request. It's the prayer request when we see that individuals and a collection of groups of people are not being treated equally, that we're not seeing the value in people based on these social identities. And yet what I know is that each and every one of us is the unique, unrepeatable, magnificent way that God shows up. So it's interesting to hear things like, it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. I'm going to read that again. There is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. So what does this mean? Am I just sticking my head in the ground thinking that everything is just going to be okay? Or do I need to be proactive? Like Buckminster Fuller says, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete? What is the model that you're building? Because you and me create society. What if we had a peace force instead of a police force? What if we had a love fest? What if people actually came together from various backgrounds, ages, races, sexual orientations, ethnicities, religions? What if we came together and actually created something new instead of fighting what's existing? What if we did that in our spiritual practices? You know, our spiritual practices that we talk about every week: meditation, treatment, journaling, visioning. Who might we become if we actually dived deep into a new spiritual practice, into a regular spiritual practice that could afford us in really creating something new? That instead of talking about folks and backbiting and gossiping, that we actually lifted one another up. Beloveds, I still believe that we are creating our society. And I'm committed to engaging in my spiritual practice so that what is being created actually matches a vision of a world where we are one. Because that is the spiritual truth of who we are. The question is, are you with me? Are you with me? So each and every Wednesday night in Long Beach, California, actually each and every Wednesday at noon Pacific in Long Beach, California, we're meeting for meditation. If you'd like to really get steeped in your practice, reach out to us at Vida Spiritual Learning Center. We have practitioners and ministers available to help you individually and to help us collectively as a community really dive deeper into the spiritual practices that help us create this world that works for all. I gotta tell you, I love my life, and I know that I would be in love with it if we had less crime, less hatred, less bullets, if we had less homophobia, less ethnocentrism, if we had a world where we really looked out for one another and lifted each other up. Like Dr. King said, I may not get there with you, but we are the ones to create the society to bring about that change. And it's never too soon to start, and it's never too late to start. So commit with me to engage in daily spiritual practice that awakens us to our spiritual magnificence, where we can look at all humanity, all plant life, all animals, everything as the life of God, and honor it and work with it in collaboration to build a world of peace, of love, of oneness, of joy, of abundance, where there's no hunger, where people are fed, where the prosperity, everyone gets an opportunity to live their best life, whatever that looks like for them. I'm interested in creating that, and I hope you'll join me in creating that as well. Let's go into prayer. How grateful I am in this moment to recognize the one power, the one presence, the one life that has created everything out of itself. Therefore, my life is the unique, unrepeatable way that loving, living spirit expresses in human form. I know loving presence and living spirit. And God, I know that this power is love, is joy, is peace, it's abundance, it's oneness, it's eternal. And because that is the truth of loving spirit, of living spirit itself, it is my truth. That which is true of God is true for me. So as I embrace this and know this, and as I contemplate this, and as I actually bask and marinate in this specific truth, then I have to know that it is the truth for each and every one, for all of life. That all of life is the unique, unrepeatable, magnificent, powerful way that God shows up in human form, in animal form, in plant form, in our ozone, in our world, in our galaxy, that this world is the life of God. And bringing it closer to home, I'm simply knowing that it is the truth for each and one of our community members at Vida Spiritual Learning Center. And that each member and those who consider themselves members and those visiting and those who are a part of our spiritual community, that we are awakened to this spiritual magnificence that our life is the life of God. And that from this place of power, from this place of oneness, from this place of peace, that which is true of God is true for each and every one of us. Therefore, we simply call forth that the love of God, the peace of God, the abundance of God, the health and wholeness of God, the oneness of God is expressed and experienced in each and every one of us. And that as this is the truth, that we experience it and that we can then express it. That it is our experience and that it is our expression, and that we see all life as the unique, unrepeatable way that God shows up, and that we honor all life, and that we value all life. And that as we say, I see the sacred, I hear the sacred, I speak the sacred, all life is sacred, that we honor the sacred life that is God. That is our very life. So I'm simply knowing that everything is unfolding beautifully and magnificently. Simply knowing a deeper commitment, a deeper walk with spirit, to know beyond the shadow of a doubt my oneness with all life. Because I pray believing it is done, I simply release this word now into the activity of the law, knowing that it is done in the mind of God. Therefore, it is done in, through, and as our reality. For this and so much more, I give thanks. I let it be so. It is so, and so it is, and now it is. Amen. Be well, beloveds. Well, it is certainly my desire that today's message was inspirational and that it moves us to recommitting to our daily spiritual practice. Know that you are loved. In closing, let's do our closing song, which is indeed another prayer. And I look forward to seeing you all really soon.
This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see. With open hearts and open hands, we lift our voices, in love we stand. This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see. With open hearts and open hands, we lift our voices, in love we stand. This is our prayer, a song of peace.
All right. Bye to our live streamers, those folks on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Know that you are loved. Reach out.